The one we inherited from England, that one, yeah.
I was having this argument with my friend Matty, like making fun of the imperial system, and eventually he got annoyed with me and was like, "Yeah, but whose empire?" And I was like, "All right, yeah, fair enough."
Touche.
Okay.
So once again, my headphones aren't working, but it doesn't matter.
Well, if you're communicating with us, it should be fine.
Yeah, I'm not hearing any echo come through, so.
All right. I don't know why my computer just decided it doesn't exist anymore.
Mine decided it didn't exist anymore about 2 or 3 days ago. That's why I'm on this laptop.
Uh-oh.
Yep.
Everyone's computers are having existential crises.
Yeah, good. Now I'm having the existential crisis of, can I justify buying another computer before I buy a car?
Well, you can get why don't you get Kit? Then you'll have both.
What? Yeah, get a Tesla.
Yeah, I'll just get a Tesla and I'll start podcasting from inside there, and it'll just
then you'll have a real existential crisis because it will actually kill you.
It'll just keep sending, like, it'll keep putting filters over my face without me wanting it to, and then it'll just start driving.
I just got a electric car myself, so it's a good time to do it. Get that tax break there, Mark.
Yeah, I need to get
Georgia too backward for that.
My finance.
No, it's federal.
Backwards.
Okay.
Now in California, there's other perks too for having an electric car, but there is a federal tax break. So
I cannot front enough money to get enough of a break back to. It's not happening. I'll be lucky to get a car that is newer than the car that just died. That's what the environment is right now.
I haven't owned a car apart from one 6-month period when I was in my 20s.
I drive once a week.
You're lucky. All of you are lucky. I am.
Twice I've lived in small countries with good public transport. So
I was gonna say public transportation.
It's public transportation exists here, but like basically the last 3 jobs I've had have required cars. Like,
oh, that's fair. Yeah, in your case.
Yeah, film industry does not. The film industry does not allow you to not have a car, even if you, like me, I was just went and did paperwork. It's like, forget it.
Atlanta doesn't really allow you to not have a car.
I could get by if I was working near a train station. I could get by okay. But I mean, my mom would be mad, or she wouldn't be mad. She would be disappointed, and she would insist that I get a car because she doesn't want me walking in the heat or whatever.
Because I lived near that train station for a little bit, but I didn't use it that much.
No, you really didn't, though. You weren't. I guess in the scheme of things, you were near it, but
the apartment.
Wait, which? Oh yeah, that's right. You did live near one. Okay.
Yeah. Brian, Luke, you guys have not met each other before, I believe.
Oh, sorry.
Hi, Luke.
Hi.
Since we're so deep on the cars, yeah. I guess you said you've heard a few, so you know the flow of what we're doing anyway, right?
Pretty much. I got my notes over here.
Oh yeah, I should.
My very tangled, confused notes because I
It's
had
a
a
very
hard time following the
film.
I had a hard time following the plot because, like, what's going on with
well,
come on, what?
We'll get into it, but it's an R-rated podcast, so you can say whatever you want. I mean,
okay.
Except for don't say anything that'll get you canceled. But other than that, you say whatever you want.
It's an X-rated podcast.
I mean, you can get yourself canceled. Just try not to drag us down with you.
Yeah, okay. Fair enough.
Luke, you're at number 92.
In at number 92, it's the Avengers, the film that brings together your favorite heroes like John Steeds.
Steeds with an S. It's like the Tim and Eric thing where they have, like, Tom Cruise and it's spelled Cruz. Yeah, we're finally getting. I think, is this one MCU adjacent? Does this count as part
Spiders
of
Man? When Spiders Man came out, it was amazing.
Spiders Man.
Peter Spider-Man.
Thanos killed that. Oh god.
No, we're here to disappoint you with 1998's The Avengers. Hi, it's Matt.
This is Luke.
It's Mark.
It's Films or Filth, Assistant Kane of Podcasting. Coming in today, our guest is the fellow that Mark and I talk to all the time about the Twilight Zone. Hi, it's Brian.
Hello, I'm Brian, not a podcaster.
Well, you are now.
Darn, I am a podcaster now. Darn,
Brian, not a podcaster.
We dragged you into that bit, didn't we?
I like what you said about Mark telling, isn't he a podcaster already? It's like, no.
You talk into a microphone. I think that makes you one or not.
I guess
I spent years trying to listen to podcasts and hating all of them until about 2017. So I've heard lots of people worse than you. Don't feel bad. You're doing great. There are people worse than you have millions of dollars. Okay, you might be able to feel bad about that, but
I like the.
I mean, that's just the world, right? There's people worse than us who have a lot of money.
that's
I like
true.
the Mr. Show sketch where David Cross is screaming about how much money you have is how smart you are. So he's like, Einstein, idiot. Is Einstein as smart as Eddie Van Halen? Eddie Van Halen had more money, so Eddie Van Halen was smarter.
Problem is, there's a lot of people who genuinely do think that way.
That's why it was funny and disturbing at the same time when you see the sketch. So
it's funny because it's true.
Yeah. I saw the Avengers opening night. This movie, The Avengers, with
this movie,
Sean Connery and Uma Thurman. I saw this one opening night, and
wow,
it had enough hype. People were like kind of excited about it when it came out. I remember because
I wouldn't have been mad. This is fine.
Oh, interesting.
What's interesting? I feel like it's something else.
You three are Americans.
Yep.
And think this film is fine.
Uh-huh.
This is the film I've hated the most so far on this podcast.
Yay! Finally. All right. Awesome.
Hey, I didn't say the film was fine. Mark said the film was fine. I said I saw it opening night because there was buzz.
Oh, and now you're gonna back
and
like leave me out in the open, like leave me as their meat shield against the criticism of legitimately British people.
Luke, I gotta ask you, Uma Thurman's accent, yes or no?
No, God no.
How bad was it from the perspective of someone who actually speaks that dialect?
So you know how you have a lot of Americans who are fans of like Doctor Who and Sherlock and all of that posh. This is how I imagine they think the UK is. Just posh and poncy and irritating.
Always floating around in bubbles.
No, I mean,
the other question I had was how many people saw the original series. I have very vague memories of seeing it, and I don't think it got a lot of syndication in the United States after a certain point. So I don't remember how old I was.
Never.
It has a following in the UK. I haven't personally seen a lot of it. A friend of mine, Stuart, who watches a lot of old shows, who me and Matt have had on podcasts before, he's into it. He would have been, if I was bothering to look up guests, he would have been my choice for this one. But I remember when this film came out, I think I was in the minority for hearing the Avengers and thinking of the Marvel property. In the UK, everyone knew what the Avengers meant. Oh, it's a remake of that TV show. Whereas, obviously, today you say, oh, we're watching the Avengers. Everyone assumes we're watching Thor and Iron Man and Hulk.
Yeah, well, the Marvel comics, I don't know which one has the title first, because that
it's super close. I think actually, I meant to look
in the
up
60s as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, the thing about, at least in 1998, the thing is, Marvel owned the rights to the Avengers because it was one of the things they didn't sell to other studios because it wasn't worth that much. Like I remember as a kid, nobody really liked the Avengers comics all that much, and
that's the irony. The big superheroes now, the only reasons they're the big ones is because they're the ones MCU had left over, right? Iron Man, Thor.
Yeah.
But in the comics, they'd always been presented as the most famous superheroes. But like,
they weren't the most. I guess.
Yeah. But they weren't actually the popular ones because Spider-Man, X-Men, the anti-establishment ones were the ones people actually liked.
My theory is that's the reason the video game tanked. It's because they didn't rely on any of the like actors from the film. And,
well, they were too close to the film without actually being the film versions.
Yeah, I mean, that there's probably a lot of reasons. I never played it, so I don't know, but there's probably a lot of reasons.
Okay. There's like 2 years. So 1961 was the show. 1963 was the first Avengers comic book.
Oh, the show's first. Okay, I think the show's one of those things where it's I mean, I watch black and white stuff, but it's kind of like the good ones are black and white, and the psychedelic color ones are not as good. I'm like, well, I don't want to do that, so I didn't watch much of the show. And also there's a switch. It's one of those Mission Impossible things where it's like, which group of people am I choosing to watch?
I never watched that either.
Well, I think their version of Steed is all the way through, and then his sidekick changes regularly.
Yeah. So, and Emma Peel is later on in the series.
Yeah, she's somewhere in the middle.
Later.
Okay, so John Steed's kind of like the Doctor in a way, different.
Yeah, I mean, I know all of this because I googled it on the at work yesterday. Like, this is a deep knowledge that I have.
They don't put this on the British test.
I think the Steed and Peel relationship was, very platonic, which is why I thought having them a romance thing in this film was weird. But it's kind of sets the pattern for like the Doctor Who in the later years, when he always had a comely female companion, but everything was always above board. It's kind of the same with the series.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where maybe when Mulder and Scully started banging, X-Files wasn't as good. Like, sometimes just leave the tension.
The difference there is there was a lot of romantic tension, whereas I think, from what I can gather, the deal with this is it was not that romantic at all. There was like a little hint, but there wasn't even like a will they, won't they? It was just these two hang out.
Yeah, people hated this film for that reason alone.
This is a rare case where a lot of people hate this for being a bad adaptation, but it's also just a bad film.
Yeah. There were a lot of things cut out of the film because the original cut was 115 minutes. Like, I'm assuming every time that they were knocked out of a window and then suddenly woke up okay and just fine in someone's apartment, something was cut out there, because that happened 3 times. And also, why were there 2 Emma Peels? That was probably cut out.
Because she was cloned. Because she was cloned.
Were there 2 scripts? Were there 3?
There was a brief line about a cloning project.
Okay, I missed that.
It was a real throwaway.
That left me very confused for a while until someone said, "Oh yeah, cloning project." Okay, throwaway line. That explains everything.
Did you see the person's mouth move when they said that, or did it seem like it was from their put in?
I couldn't tell because he was invisible for some strange reason.
Okay. Well, then he can say whatever he wants. Okay. Cool. Very convenient.
That makes ADR very easy. Yes.
Yeah.
I got the impression this whole movie was ADR'd. Doesn't it sound like the whole movie was ADR'd? Every line of dialogue did not sound like it was recorded on the stage.
That's because no one just spoke like a human being. Every single line was a line.
Yes, this is insane that this and Batman and Robin were 2 scripts back to back that Uma Thurman agreed to, because they both have the same problem.
Maybe she thinks that's really cool.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, of course, when I fall down through a roof, I should say sorry to drop in every time in every movie.
Yeah, every other line is a pun.
Yeah.
Some of my notes are, goddamn, some of this dialogue very faux witty. I think there's more. That's not the last of it.
It's the classic people who are not smart trying to write smart.
Mother knows best.
Or actually, people who are not smart trying to write cool. Sort of like, everybody who's really cool has a pun ready when to fit every situation.
Yeah. So it's actually just someone who's not cool trying to write cool.
Yeah, someone who's not smart and not cool trying to write smart and cool, and God, who knows?
Hey, Mark, I did catch it in my notes. Sorry, just to go back a minute, I did write maybe they cut a good 45 minutes from this movie. Like,
they did.
Yeah, what happened was this guy had this director made Diabolique, the remake of Diabolique, which is a really good French film from the 50s. I haven't seen the remake, but he was sort of hot shit off of that. So he basically got this contract, and then the studio saw his rough cut and freaked out and started interfering and cutting stuff out. So this might have been at least kind of coherent.
I have my doubts, to be perfectly honest. It seemed like the script was also a bit questionable, but I mean, it still has that dialogue, even if you cut stuff.
Yeah, it might have been worse with the extra stuff. Maybe we're.
Well, I mean, yeah, it would have been more of this, so it probably would have been worse.
It was nice to be out in 88 minutes. Well, Luke, can we kill your soul and ask for a summary?
Sure. John Steed is an agent for the ministry, answering to Mother, who recruits scientist Peel, Dr. Peel, who's been working on a weather project, Prospero. Prospero has been destroyed, seemingly by Peel, so the two of them investigate and find a sinister conspiracy by an old retired scientist. Lots of hijinks ensue, and it's all resolved by a punch-up in London. Jolly good.
Hijinks ensue.
Hijinks ensue.
I don't need to list every specific hijink.
I used
that one before.
I think the bears are worthwhile.
Bears definitely fall under hijinks. Yeah, the bears were fun.
Yeah, that's where I thought.
Especially when they started being dead.
Yeah, maybe Luke's going to like this.
Didn't Uma Thurman also dress in a big pink monkey costume in Batman and Robin as well?
I don't remember.
You'd think I should remember.
Pretty sure she does. Is that like is she into that?
I've pretty thoroughly forgotten everything about
probably.
Batman. Probably. Yeah.
We'll put a pin in it because we're going to get back to that.
Do you think it's too late to get the movie Batman Forever 2?
I mean,
Batman Forever
come
2.
back. It's a sequel to Batman Forever. Yeah.
Batman More Forever.
No, it's just Batman Forever 2. Don't try and have an imagination here.
How about this? Batman Forevest.
Okay, that's at least in consideration.
Batman Forever.
Yeah, Uma Thurman. Let's see, where did her
Batman Foreverest, and he climbs Mount Everest.
Because I
guess his day off.
She needs Tarantino around this time. Is that how it works?
1998.
Because we just said Batman, Robin, and this, and else I can think of are those Tarantino films. But yeah,
Tarantino was doing Jackie Brown, so it's just after he'd worked with her.
Right. But before, she'd come back for Kill Bill. So
basically,
was like
what happened,
though, wasn't it?
Yeah.
What happened was she had a career lull in which she did all this shit, and then went Kill Bill, and then Tarantino almost killed her on Kill Bill by making her do her own stunts, and then she's never worked with him again.
Right.
And then went and did who knows what.
I don't know what.
Has she ever done anything good that's not with Tarantino?
That's what I'm asking.
Yes. Baron Munchausen.
The late 80s one?
Yep.
Oh, okay. She must have been a youngin'.
She's been in a few things.
I like that movie, but that one's that one's not necessarily like across the board good. Some people are not down with. I had it on VHS. I taped off of cable. I liked it a lot as a kid.
I think my auntie was a fan. I think I have seen it.
Yeah.
I think that's one of Terry Gilliam's more easily likable. She was in Nymphomaniac. I guess she became a Lars von Trier person later on.
Oh, okay.
If you're into that, I'm not.
My friend still hates Bjork because of Dance in the Dark.
Wow, really? He just hates.
We really
straight up hates Bjork.
He really hates Lars von Trier, but she's the star of the movie, so it's like an association thing.
Yeah, I have hated everything that. But she was a voice in Nausicaa, Valley of the Wind.
Yeah, but you shouldn't watch a Miyazaki movie.
I mean, yeah, you shouldn't watch them in English, but
like I used to have students,
I never have.
I used to have students say, "Oh, I'm trying to watch Miyazaki in English to practice English." I'm like, "Do not do that. Just watch, do that with something else."
Oh yeah,
Gattaca. Something
actually. Did somebody like Gattaca?
I love Gattaca.
This is my point.
Oh yeah, I remember Gattaca. That wasn't too bad.
That's about this time too. That's 97, 98, right? So,
okay,
wasn't that her husband, Ethan
97
Hawke or something.
I believe you're correct. Yeah. So, okay, that's a very good one. That's one of the regret lists for not doing that when we were doing exclusively sci-fi, because that was always in the mid of my mind. Obviously, it was on the front of my mind, or we would have done it, but it was in the mid of my mind. Yeah, for sure.
In the mid of your mind.
So Uma Thurman, her daughter's really cool. I like her in Stranger Things.
Yep, she's also worked with Tarantino now.
Oh, really? She let her do that?
And
okay.
and is in a new Coen brother movie. I don't remember which Coen brother, but he has a new movie with her in it, and the movie is 87 minutes.
Like
Wow.
this one.
That excites me.
Just like this one.
Yeah,
This
but
one's
it's
like-
but
probably
probably
good.
deliberately 87 minutes.
Uh-huh.
But
The idea of a Coen brother movie makes me think of like Luigi's Mansion.
Uh-huh.
Like it's weird to separate them.
yeah, you're like, I don't know what you want. I'm like, I don't know. I couldn't tell the difference. Just like I always get Ralph Fiennes and Joseph Fiennes confused, just to keep the ball rolling. Ralph here.
I mean, for me, it's very clearly Ralph, but that's because I'm of the generation who grew up watching the Harry Potter movies. So
I remember watching him in Red Dragon and being legitimately scared of him.
he's an excellent villain. He was pretty good as James Bond's boss. I don't think he's leading man material.
I could see that.
He's got a very weak chin. I know. You can't go full Aaron Eckhart. That's too handsome to be leading man, right? You can't. But you can't be this weak chinned. Like your leading man can't look like I could punch him out.
In this film, I like him in this film. Like I find him likable, but he seems kind of like just too
smug.
Smug isn't the right word. It's like he just got really high and is just going to try to disappear into the background.
Oh, I could appreciate that if that's kind of like the Super Mario Brothers thing. So yeah.
But it's like I actually grew up having to talk to people like this, so I don't find him charming at all.
Gotcha.
Are you willing to give us a mark? Yeah, what?
Oh, we also have Fiona Shaw as Father. Took a second for me to get those right.
Oh.
She was Bowser's assistant in the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Yes.
Also had the "fuck the Empire" line in Andor that ended up being changed to "fight the Empire." But
that's too bad.
In this house, we say "fuck the Empire."
Did we get a Harry Potter count? Like how many Harry Potter stars were characters?
Yeah.
Were in this
So
movie?
we have her. We have Jim Broadbent. We have Ralph Fiennes.
Were there more? I got the impression there might have been more.
I'm sure there are small bit parts as well. I mean, I don't think the creator of Harry Potter would like this because she's a woman called Father.
That's too confusing, isn't it? How can anyone work that out? I need to tweet about it.
There were two minor female characters that I was. Yeah, there are two minor female characters that looked familiar for various reasons. One is currently in, I think, the Secret Invasion, the Marvel Secret Invasion right now. Carmen, who was Mother's assistant. And,
that was a weird little relationship, wasn't it?
Yes, that was very strange.
Feeding him biscuits directly to his mouth at the end.
Well, you get into interesting habits, I guess. So, Luke, are you willing to commit your Connery impression to tape now?
I was thinking of doing the submarine Connery actually, and then I forgot to do it.
Oh, okay. You can just
That's a horse's ass of a name.
I think I said before. I just when Luke and I were walking up to the hill to the hot spring, and he was just practicing his Connery impression on his own, and I thought that was impressive. He wasn't talking to me. He was like 5 feet ahead, just like practicing his Connery.
It makes me kind of sad that Connery is so present and he's so up for this movie, and then this and League of Extraordinary Gentlemen just killed his desire to do anything. On the other hand,
better agent.
Well, I say on the other hand, retiring is pretty cool, and everyone should get the chance to do it. So
yeah, he got what, a 15-year retirement or something in the end.
20, really.
Yeah, not so bad.
Yeah, well, he was like, he's the character I actually did enjoy watching in this because it's just Sean Connery chomping through scenery. And so I can see why he was involved in this because it's a little bit Bond adjacent, so they'd want to get Connery in. And the original Dr. Peel was played by the first Bond girl.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Whose name
Diana
is escaping
Rigg.
me right. Diana Rigg, yeah. She was the original Dr. Peel. So there's a little connection there. And then Ralph Fiennes would go on to be M later in James Bond. I'm sure around this time he would have been like in the conversation to have taken like Brosnan's role. But I'm glad Brosnan got it. I think Brosnan has much more like action hero leading man. Yeah, basically a stronger chin. But also he delivers those lines with a bit more conviction, right? And a little bit more edge. Like because Bond doesn't play by the rules, whereas this guy feels like the other 00 agent who would be in a Bond film, and Bond would have to like take him out of the picture so he can break the rules.
Yeah.
You mean he's the Sean Bean? Yeah, he's the bad guy.
No, not even the bad guy. Just like the Jobsworth that is getting in Bond's way because Bond wants to do something naughty.
The Felix Leiter, is it? Is that?
That's the CIA guy.
Yeah, that's the CIA guy that he's always having to shove out of the way.
Felix Leiter.
Nah, they're pals.
They are pals, but he has to get them out of the way sometimes.
Yeah, a little bit.
In the pre-Craig movies, I think there's more of an annoyance.
Yeah, that's true.
They become pals in the Craig films more.
I guess because we needed the American dollar more in the Craig movies, we couldn't survive on just selling it to British audiences.
Yeah, because I think older Bonds like to kneecap the CIA, which is the correct choice. So,
yeah.
But yeah, it is fun having Bond playing a Bond supervillain for all intents and purposes. I mean, did Roger Moore ever do that? He should have. If he didn't.
I don't know if Roger Moore did much of anything post Bond.
Timothy Dalton did.
He was bonding up to being like 1 million years old. So
yeah, Timothy Dalton had a couple of very juicy villain roles. He was Hot Fuzz and also the Rocketeer, right?
Yeah,
Rocketeer.
I think he was a good Bond, but he didn't quite get his his tender hooks enough where you're just like he was a Bond, even though he was.
Yeah, he didn't get the films he needed, but
yeah, that's the thing.
I
I like his films and I like his performance, but Brosnan like looks so much like you would think James Bond would look. Even now, looking back on it, it's like, geez.
Well, Brosnan was going to be the next Bond in the mid '80s, but he was yanked back by NBC for Remington Steele, and he couldn't do it. That's why Dalton got the role. So he kind of got an extra 6 years hiatus before he got into the role or whatever.
But then Brosnan also got some kind of shitty movies, I think. Shittier movies than he should have.
I like the Goldeneye. I thought was legit pretty good, and I like the last one because I like to believe that's Bond having a fever dream while dying in a North Korean prison. So that makes that one good for me.
Oh, so that's your headcanon on that one. Okay.
Yeah, to watch that one and think about it as Bond like just like fizzling out and his head is exploding, and then it's actually kind of fun.
Might explain Madonna. Okay.
And then the next movie is, Daniel Craig is the next Bond, which Skyfall killed that whole theory, but whatever.
Well, the one, whatever one had Denise Richards as a nuclear scientist was the one where I was like, that's it. I'm taking a couple.
Not enough.
I'm taking a couple of these off after that. I was like, I'm taking a couple off.
Yeah, it's not like Denise Richards, appearance on Saved by the Bell.
I actually liked that one, except for Denise Richards. I think it had some other good things going. It got Judi Dench out in the field and doing things, and it was more intriguing.
Didn't it have an invisible car?
No. That's
Die Another Day. That's another reason I hate Die Another Day.
That's
maybe
part
that
of
was
his fever
the
dream.
one. Maybe that was the one I said I'm not watching anymore after this.
Well, that's the one where everyone said I'm not watching anymore after this, and they had to go and make Casino Royale and go mega grounded.
Like 4 years later, for in Bond years, well, it used to be a lot. Now it's not, but
no.
Now it's like the distance between Guns N' Roses albums.
And Better in My Bloody Valentine albums.
We'll see. It's like all in a race to the bottom.
Okay. So we got all the. Am I missing some folks? There's plenty of character actors. Jim Broadbent, we mentioned him. Actor spotlight. Anyone else want to hit?
I mean, Eddie Izzard, who is now Susie Izzard. I'm not entirely sure what the timeline is on that.
Nor am I. So,
Susie Izzard was awesome in this.
Don't even remember their
Silent Menacing.
Lead
henchman,
was it?
Yeah.
Bailey. Bailey
didn't talk.
Yeah, he did have
like one line.
I think he had an F-bomb at the end, right?
Yeah, I think
which
so.
was kind of
Just real quick.
Jaws-like. He didn't have any lines until the very, very end.
Yeah, was just doing a Jaws thing, which is fine.
Well,
Still a bit of a waste of Izzard, but
It kind of was. He could have done a lot more.
This
She
is
could have done a
pretty.
lot more.
This is pretty early career-wise, though, right? So there's no like.
yeah, I guess it's not like they had a reputation to go off of.
Yeah, I feel like the Izzard name didn't start like showing up in the pop culture chit chat until like the mid 2000s or something.
Well, they took this job just to meet Sean Connery, so probably
That
didn't.
I got a lot of respect for.
Okay.
Yeah, probably
That
didn't
makes
care what the
perfect
lines
sense.
were or what the job was.
What kind of movie this ended up being?
Yeah, any of that.
Let's see. Well, what did we like, if anything? I brought up the Bears. The Bears were great. I would have
The
liked
lightning at the end getting Connery looked amazing.
Yeah.
I didn't know lightning could levitate you like that.
Just
That's
took him.
amazing.
It's like the hand of God took him away.
Exactly.
Yeah, I can be down with that. Sure. So there's that. I mean, I guess it looks okay.
Design-wise, it looks great. When those CGI wasps turn up, it looks dreadful.
Yeah, but it doesn't. It didn't seem like overly. I mean, this is the point where you were kind of expected to put on a little CGI, but couldn't really go whole hog with it.
Yeah, this is right around the eraser alligator that walked at a different rate that it moved, which I was in the theater seeing that. I was like, uh-oh. It looks like every Schwarzenegger movie isn't perfect after all. That was the feeling I had watching that. I don't know who greenlit that stupid alligator. Anyway,
I'm trying to think.
We'll get to that later when we do Eraser.
Is it on the list?
No.
Oh, thank God.
Hercules in New York is on the
There shouldn't
list.
be a single Schwarzenegger film on the bad list.
Hercules in New York is on the list.
That shouldn't be.
There are,
masterpiece.
But we do get back to Terminators. Those are on the good list. So
yeah.
But,
I think the only reason.
Now that I think about it, if I wanted to put films on the bad list, it would be some of the latter Terminators.
Yeah. You know what? The reason Hercules in New York is on there is surely just because people love actual Schwarzenegger films so much that they went and watched that and were expecting something that was not what that movie is.
Yeah.
But you get a young Adonis, Schwarzenegger in that one. That's the most you get.
I mean, you guys didn't really like Conan a whole lot, and that's definitely way more in that direction. Like that's sort of a screwball.
Film?
It's a screwball comedy.
I didn't dislike Conan, but I don't think it's where Schwarzenegger shines.
Yeah, I have a lot of older friends who like that's their favorite Schwarzenegger movie because they love the 80s swords thing.
Right.
Swords and sandals.
Definitely got some things going for it. Yeah.
Yeah, Terminator never uses a sword, even though if there was a Terminator sequel where he used a sword, it would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
If anyone's listening.
Terminator sword.
No.
Okay,
now it would be called Terminator Edgelord.
I mean, if you think about it, the T-1000 uses swords.
Oh, you're right.
Knives and stabbing weapons.
That was so cool. That was so cool when it went through the milk. Anyway, we'll get to that later.
Yeah.
That's going to be a whole podcast of me just going, it was so cool when.
It was so cool.
Hey, you remember that time?
Yeah, I do.
When like that truck flip? That was cool.
and then that happened. And then he pulls his arm off.
Can you remember anything cool that happened in this film?
The Bears.
Sean Connery controlled the weather.
I think the Bears were kind of like some sort of tip of the hat to the whimsicalness of the original series. I think they did weird things like that all the time. From what I can gather.
I mean, I think they were trying to do lots of weird stuff in this one. That's just the one that seemed to work.
It came so early that it gave me a false hope for how weird the movie was going to be.
Yeah, when I was like 30 minutes in, I'm like, aren't we winding down? There was still like 50 minutes to go. So that is the thing. Like, I mean, I was very curious how Luke was going to do the summary, because it's just like there isn't like really much of a coherent plot thread. Other than Connery wants to destroy the weather and they need to levitate him with lightning.
Well, I'd also like, we basically know all the answers pretty early on. We know Father's a bad guy. We know there's 2 Peels. We know Connery's plot. And we're just waiting for the characters to either figure it out or prove it.
I wasn't clear on how many Peels there were. I thought maybe she was schizophrenic or something.
We see both of them at once.
Yeah.
Pretty early.
Well, yeah, we
and
do. But up to that point, it's like, is she?
I guess there's a little
2 personalities
bit of that,
or something. It's the editing of the movie. Like you said, somebody passes out, wakes up, and then there she is, and it's like, well, is this?
Well, I think I accidentally watched this film in the perfect way, which was on my phone on a bus while playing Mario Kart. So I wasn't paying that much attention.
All right.
And I somehow understood it better.
I engaged my brain again. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's a film that benefits from not engaging your brain. Also, I was watching the version on archive.org, which meant that every now and then a little thing would come up at the bottom of the screen saying VHS not for sale or rental. If you're watching this, please report to Warner Home Video. Because it was the screener version.
You might be able to reverse engineer it and figure out who it was that leaked it. Well, no, I guess they weren't doing that back then. But there were a few places in my notes where someone seemed really confused by the fact that there were 2 Peels, and I'm like, you all know that there are 2 Peels. Everyone knows this. You've all seen this. Why are you confused by this? And then I was confused because they never explained anything about why there were 2 Peels, except for the invisible guy said it in post.
Well, there is a clue at the very beginning when Sean Connery is doing his terrible organ acting. He cannot pretend to play an organ. I'm sorry. We pan up and we see an image of her on the organ. So clearly this is like his lost love, his wife or something, who must have died, and somehow he got into a cloning business, managed to make 2 clones, and then keeps one as his assassin, his soldier to fight for him, and yet I guess kept tabs on Mrs. Peel until this point, and then starts trying to make out with her, which is creepy.
Yeah.
Why is he making out with the other one? It's already here,
She was working on his science project, so she wasn't that far away from him. Yeah, that sounds like an interesting plot that would have been good if they touched on it at all.
Exactly. It's like you have to suss it out yourself. They left very little for you to go on.
I just remembered why I was stoked to see this opening night. I went to see this opening night is because this is that summer I was working at the Warner Brothers studio store, which just like endlessly pushed this movie. It's the biggest thing ever, right? So, this and Batman and Robin at the time, biggest things ever. So, it's, I got brainwashed by my place of employment somewhat, because I even the reviews, I was like, what's the biggest thing ever? I got to go see it. So yeah. I
remember hearing it was bad, so I didn't go see it.
Yeah, it didn't review particularly well, did it?
No, it didn't.
No.
Okay, yeah. Oh no, just because Matt's line just then was like the review said it's the biggest thing ever.
No, I said
in spite of the review.
The Warner, in spite of the review, the Warner Brothers studio store was like pushing.
Oh no,
really
yeah,
hard,
I knew that's what you were saying, but then I thought you then said even the reviews said it was the biggest thing ever.
No, the reviews did not.
Even after the reviews, you thought it was the biggest thing.
We had the giant video wall, which also drilled Madonna's Beautiful Stranger and the Goo Goo Dolls, whatever that hit was at the time, like the Bare Naked Lays 1 Week. Those songs have been. I don't like any of these songs that much, and they're all because they'd loop on in 30 minutes, so they're just like they're never too far from my head, unfortunately.
God.
Well, that's the trials of working at the weirdest theme park related store.
Is this also the store where you had to decline? Whose card did you have to decline?
I had to decline Chris Tucker's credit card.
That's it.
He was nice about it, though. I always have to add that he was cool about it. So of course I think I eventually sent him along to a manager. Maybe he screamed to the manager, but
was this the incident that led to him asking for more money than Jackie Chan?
Probably. That's my guess, at least.
That's what made him stop being in Friday movies.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, he'd be in more, wouldn't he?
He said he didn't want to be an influence on kids to get them all to smoke weed, and it's sort of too late because That movie has endured more than almost anything he's ever been in.
That's the Citizen Kane of stoner films.
I would still say that the Rush Hour films are bangers.
I think they're good. I just don't think they're as culturally influential as Friday is, at least not here.
Yeah, kids these days don't know Jackie Chan. Sad. I had one student last week who she's into karate, and I tried. I was like, "Oh, do you like Jackie Chan films?" It turns out she did, and we talked about it for a while, and that was great.
Nice.
We both agreed. We both agreed the Chinese ones are better.
Yeah,
that'd be a good Bond film title. Never Say Nobody. Didn't make any sense, but whatever.
A Bond film that says never say no to Jackie Chan.
Luke, I want you to unleash some more Brit rage on this if you have it.
Okay, he has a machine that puts out tea pre-milked. Gross. No one in Britain would do that. The whole like, oh, let's go for tea with mother. Nobody likes those people. That's the posh. They're the enemy. Like, I wish Sean Connery had drowned all of them. Just drowned all the rich people in London. You do need an umbrella every day. That's correct. And like the big country houses with mazes and stuff. Ugh. It's like, it's the stuff that gets romanticized, but if you're actually from Britain, you don't like it. But I guess I'm guilty of romanticizing the equivalent in Japan, right? I want to go to the Imperial Palace and stuff. Whereas, I would happily see Buckingham Palace torn down and replaced with affordable housing.
Well, this is the thing about hedge mazes. That if there's a hedge maze in America, somebody probably kicked a hole in it, or somebody just didn't water one of the trees. I bet if there's a hedge maze in Japan, it's immaculate, and you can definitely actually get a challenge out of it. Where would you say Britain is on those in that level? How are Britain's hedge mazes?
They're somewhere in between, I guess. They are kind of. I've been in a couple, and they were pretty well put together. But there'll be like one or two really glaring holes where someone's just got sick of it and barged through.
Yeah, we're not so different after all.
No. That's it. It's all an act. The Brits are very classy and posh thing. Most of us saying like that's not our reputation in Europe because they know us from going over and being football hooligans.
Do you think?
I mean, in the South, we have "Bless Your Heart." That's basically that's almost British.
Do you think the Avengers or John Steed's more of a template for the Kingsman films than James Bond?
Well, that's it. I really like the Kingsman films because they actually get into that class stuff, right? And it brings in a guy who's not from the posho world. And that's like, it really dissects that concept. Whereas this is just like, this is Kingsman before they brought in Eggsy and realized that maybe it's not good to just have the upper class doing everything.
Well, there's a connection, obviously, with the third Kingsman film was a prequel. And guess who stars in it?
Oh, yeah. And he's aged into it a little bit by then. Because I think by that age, Ralph Fiennes kind of can carry an action film. Whereas I think young Ralph Fiennes, he just looks a bit too weedy and dorky and like the kid you'd want to bully. Daniel Craig would like shove this guy in a locker and take his lunch money.
Well, speaking of mazes, were you confused by the scene where she's running around in the house? And it was like the TARDIS. It was like dimensionally transcendental. It took me a minute to realize that she was just still tripping balls on whatever drug that Sean Connery had given her.
Oh, I never realized
the explanation for that. Because why would this house be a TARDIS?
Well, that whole sequence was another confusing thing. Because
right,
if you still haven't figured out what's going on with the two pills, that scene was kind of implying that he'd been brainwashing her, and that it was just the one pill. So it's like thrown in as a red herring, but at that point you'd already figured out what was actually going on.
Oh, they already demonstrated it because she'd already met the other Mrs. Peel.
Yeah,
they all saw her.
So it's just.
And why Mrs. Peel? Today, if a woman was a doctor, she would say, "Excuse me, I'm a Dr. Peel."
Yeah, why would she?
She insists on being called Mrs. Peel.
Well, I think it's because she still wants to find her husband, right? And that was her way of turning off Steed's advances.
Maybe.
So the first time she said it, it made sense.
Or that's just the name of the character from the show, and they had to keep her Mrs. Peel.
Yeah. But that first line, I thought it worked, where she said, he said, "Oh, should I have to keep calling you Dr. Peel?" And she says, "You can call me Mrs. Peel." And I thought, okay, that actually made sense. But then every single character calls her Mrs. Peel for the rest of the film.
Well, she put her foot down when she did that, and everyone just followed suit for the rest of the movie. Yeah,
everyone was spying on her when she said that.
Everyone was spying on her the entire movie.
The entire movie.
They respected her wishes, so that's what's important.
Yeah.
Who even heard Mrs. Peel say Rosebud?
It's the butler.
They probably do have butlers in this. No, we even see Steed's butler.
I actually did like her TARDIS sequence, probably just because Mark and I just finished The Prisoner, and it just felt like The Prisoner for 2 minutes, where they have
Oh, you know what else reminded me of The Prisoner is the cars, cars going into underground garages a lot. I always flash back to number 6's Lotus.
They're walking around in a couple of rovers. Yeah. I did wonder if those actually were like kind of like sideways Prisoner references or not. So
I seriously realized something weird was happening in that house and thought it would be explained and then forgot about it. I forgot. And then I was like, well, they probably accidentally edited out what explained this.
That was the accidental edit. Okay.
Again,
at that point, I'd already seen stuff hacked out of this film.
So maybe that's a little more that's hacked out. I don't know. So,
yeah.
Well, the drug hallucinations, probably the thing we're supposed to run with, I guess.
I wish I had felt like that because I probably would have liked that better than, oh, it's just a magical house.
Yeah, I mean,
I just thought it was a magic house.
Why a magical house?
This movie does.
Well, what's a weather machine? That's magic. We don't have that.
Oh no, it's what do they call it? They call it it's like
it's like
it was
matter collision. Apparently lets you control the weather.
It was retail meteorology. Like it was a common thing. Oh, there's all these companies that will change the weather for you. This just happens to be one of them. It's like, what?
This is.
I mean, there are companies changing the weather, but they're not doing it deliberately.
No, I was going to say this movie is kind of like a cornucopia for like late 90s conspiracy theories. Because what we got? We got cloning, we got weather manipulation, we've got plenty of MK Ultra stuff. Yeah, with I did like the swirling light sequence, of course, because I'm always into that sort of thing. So
spy agencies running the world. Unsupervised.
Yeah. So many.
It is weird that the plot was so like weather focused, but it didn't dive into climate change at all. And it's not like we didn't know that stuff in the 90s.
There was because
Al Gore discovered it in 2005 and put out a movie.
that was 7 years later. I remember this period, at least in our country, as one of neoliberal optimism. That we invented cloning. It's going to make so much money. We're going to blow up Iraq as much as we need to, and we'll win every time.
Dream of the 90s, yes.
Yeah, it's just it was big. Like I don't feel like people were worried about climate change because everybody thought they were going to be rich in the .com bubble.
Fair enough. And this is like, for all its Britishness, this is an American film through and through.
Yeah,
this is an American production with American directors starring an American woman.
Is that why they used dollars instead of pounds? They kept
Probably
talking about money and dollars. I'm like, this is England, damn it.
I think they even used Fahrenheit at one point.
What the hell?
Yeah,
maybe the weather machine converted Celsius to Fahrenheit.
How dastardly.
I mean, I can tweak.
That's why its version of British is so horrendous.
Okay,
but also like it's described as a comedy.
What's the guy who directed National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation?
Yeah,
which is the most American movie, to the point where many people who are Americans listening to this right now probably watch it on American Christmas as their American tradition.
American Christmas.
Yeah.
American Christmas.
That's when baby Jesus rises from the manger with a Tommy gun and takes out the bastards.
Oh, Big Ben.
You could put anything
right?
you want in there,
Parliament.
really.
Big Ben Parliament.
Big Ben Parliament.
Yeah, and then they blew up Big Ben in this one.
That Big Ben explosion was pretty sick.
Yeah, my note was fuck Big Ben. So
You know, Big Ben is the clock and
Big
not
Ben
the
is
tower.
actually Big Ben is the bell. So fuck you.
Does make more sense that
My
way.
note was, "You blew up Big Ben, you bastard."
That's British films love blowing up Big Ben. It's our version of blowing up the White House.
Yeah.
Oh, you know, this movie had a very 90s, 70s, 90s, 70s, what am I saying? 1990s James Bond end song. You know how the 90s Bonds always had a song at the end?
Yeah.
And this one was by Grace Jones, who herself was in a Bond movie.
Love Grace Jones. I think I just turned it off immediately when the credits started. Should have kept listening.
She was in the one where Roger Moore is way too old for anybody, right?
Exactly. It was the last Roger Moore movie. And the score for this was Joel McNeely, who's now doing the Orville. He's done a lot. He did the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles before this.
Okay.
I think wasn't the score like didn't have to get rescored partway through or something?
Stories about
because
it.
They had to they originally had a version which used a lot more of the themes from the old show, and
This
they
hardly
got cut
had
because
any
it was,
of that. They
was
used it in the
promptly
opening scene
recut.
and the closing scene, and that was about the entire use of the original Avengers theme.
Yeah, that's because I think it had to be hastily rescored when it was recut or something like that.
Interesting.
Well, I just brought it up because I like Joel McNeely's work. He also orchestrates Seth MacFarlane's albums, if you ever listen to Seth MacFarlane, which is probably why he's working on the Orville.
How many albums does Seth MacFarlane have?
Yeah, this is all news to me.
Oh, at this point, he started about 13, 14 years ago. So he's got like at least 7 albums out, I think.
Wild.
He slowed down during the pandemic. He might have a new one any day now. Who knows with Seth?
All right.
The just bringing up Roger Moore, a few days ago was my daughter's birthday, so she was going off to see a movie. She ended up seeing like The Little Mermaid with her friends. But I asked at the school festival, what's your favorite room? And she was Indiana Jones, right? So I was like, okay, well, which movie do you want to see? Do you want to see a pretty young woman singing popular songs, or do you want to see a very old man punching people? I went to see the very old man punching people, of course, but yeah.
You watched the new Indiana Jones?
That's right, yeah.
Is it dreadful?
I actually liked it quite well. So I know the reviews are very mixed on it, but I thought I would rank it I'd 1 and 3 alternates depending on day of the week, and I might put in Dial just behind those, and about probably slightly above Temple of Doom. So
Temple of Doom has some stuff that has not aged well.
Yeah, true.
Well, most people have said that it's better than the last one.
But yeah, I mean that's not
everyone said that.
Huge.
yeah, it's kind of like there's nowhere to go but up. So you kind of.
Yeah, I want to see it just because who knows how many more times I'm going to see Harrison Ford in the theater, right?
Interesting that my daughter was like, I do want to see the old ones. So my wife used our rock 10 points for this guy.
Okay.
So
is that the trilogy?
It also has the 4th one if we want to watch it. But
trilogy plus 1.
Trilogy plus 1, yeah.
Luke, you will get to see Harrison Ford in the new Captain America movie. There were a few headlines recently where what's the name? Anthony Mackie was saying, yeah, it was great working with Harrison Ford. We were on set and he was like, let's shoot this piece of shit. And that like most of the headlines just say, let's shoot this piece of shit. So
nice.
Into it.
Right.
I did see a clip.
Superhero movie now.
I saw a clip of someone like some obnoxious YouTube lady interviewing Harrison Ford, and she's like, might we see Mr. Ford playing a Red Hulk? And he's like, what the fuck is a Red Hulk?
Yes. Hell yeah.
Just classic Harrison Ford. No,
especially as he gets older, it's like his anti-charisma in interviews and stuff is like coming back around and being extremely charismatic in a weird way.
Oh, it's refreshing to see someone who's not like taken in by all this dork shit.
Yeah, we're all tired of it.
By all this dork shit.
Now that we live in the age of the nerd, it's fine. It's good to see someone not pretend it's not still really lame. And this is a guy who grew up, reading comic books and watching Star Wars, who's named after Luke Skywalker. But like, it is for nerds, and everyone pretends it's not. I'm glad Harrison Ford is there to keep us humble.
I truly think that I want things explained to me within the film, and I don't want to have to know extra things to know what the thing is. So yeah, I do feel like that.
I think that's a reasonable ask in a movie.
Mhm.
I'm sitting here starting to find some reviews and stuff, and I am knowing that this Avengers, when I just typed in the Avengers, and it is the third choice, the third
They stopped saying
with
the in the sequels though.
with the show being the second. Oh yeah, that's a good point. The Avengers, the show, this movie, and then it has Kang Dynasty, which is 2026. Okay, I
Yeah,
guess
Good luck.
well, we'll see about
We'll
that.
see.
yeah,
Starring
yeah.
who? I don't know.
Starring some people. Starring Harrison Ford. What are y'all here for? Stupid shit. He just ranting for like 2 hours, 2.5 hours. I'll show you. I'll punch someone in the face. That's what I'll do. Sorry, I think my Harrison Ford is too angry, actually.
That sounds like
It's Harrison Ford's not angry. He's just tired and disinterested.
Yeah.
it's just
Well,
like,
he's going to be
let's shoot
angry
this
when he
piece
has
of
to be the
shit.
lead of a 2.5-hour Avengers movie as opposed to the Avengers.
I don't know if he's going to be a lead. You know, that role doesn't ever.
I'm sure he's not. I'm just.
No,
Who is
no,
it? William Hurt?
He's playing
Hurt?
old Steve Rogers, like in the end of Endgame. He's just
Oh,
running
yeah,
around as Captain America in the spandex.
I'm Captain America, bitch.
I love how his catchphrase is now, "No, I don't think I will." That was that line, right?
Yeah.
At the end of No, I don't think I'll be doing
I don't
that.
think I will.
Sorry, at the end of what?
Endgame.
Endgame.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I've
Mark.
seen Endgame once. It's so long.
I'm just like,
I've only
imagine
seen it
Harrison
once.
Ford doing
We're
that
watching
line,
it
though.
for this podcast eventually.
We
Yeah.
are. I know. That's
Like
why I'm not going to bother
2026
till we
or
get
something.
there. Yeah. Well, does anyone want to throw out any other points on this particular film, The Avengers, 1998?
Well, I did, like Luke said, I enjoyed the strutting around in his kilt being a mad villain scene. I thought the scenery chewing was great, and it was almost worth the price of admission.
It was hilarious when he. It was
Connery
hilarious
is
when he,
always value for money, yeah.
Yeah, it was hilarious when he hit that globe and it flew at the screen. It was obviously bad CGI. Anyway, I enjoyed watching him.
See, I could believe that in universe that was bad CGI that Connery was putting on his video that he sent to the world leaders.
That's awesome. Oh
Okay.
my god, yes,
That justifies
that's canon
that
now.
bit. Yeah. Good. We got that.
They stole the Leon's line from Blade Runner, though. It's time to die.
Well, when it's time to die, what else you're gonna say?
Well, it didn't say wake up, time to die. So I guess it was
You,
totally
yeah, wake up, time to die. He didn't do that. That's a little different.
See,
Love
yeah.
Blade Runner.
This is where you expire.
When does Blade Runner come up? Probably a long time from now.
Never. I don't think it's on the list, actually.
What? Oh well.
Yeah.
Too many cuts.
See, that's your Jurassic Park, because I cannot believe Jurassic Park is not on our list.
Yeah. I mean, I can believe it because the original cut of that was so bad, apparently, and I've only seen the good version, I think, for the most part.
Of what? Jurassic Park?
Blade
Blade
Runner.
Runner.
Oh, Blade Runner. Yeah. Oh, yeah. The many cuts. Yeah. The original. Well, there's the one with the narration that's ridiculous, and yeah, you could definitely watch
That
the
was the
wrong cut of
theatrical
Blade
one.
Runner. You need a unicorn, I think. I do
Like
think
Apocalypse Now.
Does the final cut? Do you still get a unicorn in the final cut? I don't remember.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the one I saw in the theater recently.
Okay. I guess I'll admit here, I don't like Blade Runner as much as everyone else. It's like I want to, but I just don't.
It's not for everybody.
Yeah.
I like both of them. A lot of people.
No, but it definitely
Don't like
belongs
the
on
second
this
one.
a lot more than a lot of these other films.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
It is a surprising absence, but it probably is because like its reviews are probably spread across the various different versions.
Yeah. And
Right.
it also, I mean, it's just a weird, quiet, slow, tentative thing that's kind of off-putting to people.
Maybe.
Well, looking at
Yeah.
this film, do we want to decree it film, filth? What do we want to call? I'll ask
Absolute
Jasper.
filth.
Oh, well, Luke just already went first. Okay.
I'm gonna call it flimsy.
Flimsy. Okay. Brian, how do you want to decree this film and the
Hot
zeitgeist?
mess might be more appropriate. It's just a mess.
So he fixed it a few years later with some hot fuzz instead. I don't know.
Well,
Yeah,
if there's a
Hot Fuzz
director's
is-
cut, maybe it'd be worth visiting again. Probably not.
Nah, probably not. I mean, what's on screen? It's like it's not just the things are missing. That's the issue here. So
Well, the 115-minute cut is thought to be lost, and I don't think there's anybody looking for it.
it goes
Oh,
to
like
Sean
the long
Connery's
cut
looking
of
for it.
Event Horizon.
Yeah,
you know,
like
was
the long cut of
missing.
Event Horizon, which should be looked for. But know what? If they can't find that, they're not going to find this. Hopefully they will. Hopefully they'll open a tomb in like Brazil, and then the lost cut of Event Horizon will be in a pile of bodies, and then we can all watch it and enjoy it.
I have a 10-star review if anyone wants to hear it.
Sure.
It's the first one. The first one's actually, hey, this one works. So needs avenging, not brown cow. First line, well done, Steed. I say well done, Warner Brothers. People say The Avengers is the worst TV remake ever. I say no. This film has great music, great cars, good acting from Sean Connery, Uma Thurman's, and Ralph, Raulph Fiennes. Good fight scenes, an average car chase, and the main thing, 60s madness. The storyline makes little sense, I will agree, but it is mad. Back in the 60s, would it have been possible for mechanical wasps? Would you have had an underwater island, a weather control machine, pointless treasure maps lying around the place? No, but back then they thought they should. Miss Thurman and the cat suits. I mean, come on. Eddie Izzard is great as the henchman. Sean Connery is hilarious as Sir August Die Winter. Jim Broadbent is cleverly cast as mother. May I add that when the TV series was written, a storyline like the one of this film was highly common. So if you liked but not loved the TV series, you should like this film. That's confusing. If you liked but not loved the TV series, you should like this film.
That's sort of faint praise, isn't it?
Good.
I'm not quite sure. It's very confusing
Zed.
praise, but it draws my attention to the fact that I think having more of a background in the series might have helped you enjoy this movie's tone better.
But then I think
this bad
people,
cap and the weird.
I think it would have done, but then the way they tried to make it so full of jokes and comedy and like that put people off because that's not the tone of the series.
Well, this review is saying, weather control machine, an underground island, a cannibal wasp. Would they have done that in the 60s? Yes, with jankier effects and cool models.
Absolutely.
Did you like the remote control, Eddie Izzard's remote control with the weird little lights flying around? That was very mechanically weird. I thought that was bizarre.
I did forget to ask, who are they avenging?
Who's anybody avenging, really?
The Queen? Is it the Queen?
Sounds cool.
It's always the Queen, isn't it?
I guess she had a dead husband.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
I felt like a cold silence was the correct response to that question.
They were avenging Captain America.
They were avenging I was going to make a joke about how they're avenging the money I spent on my cinema ticket, but I watched it illegally on the internet. So
they're avenging
Diana Rigg, who had the good sense to stay far away from this movie, unlike Patrick McNee.
She said no to playing. What was it, Diana, the lady with the not Diana? Was her actual name? Fiona. Well,
I know
the lady
who you
with
mean.
the gun.
Alice or something. Yeah.
Alice. Yeah, lady with a gun. She declined.
Oh, was she asked for that role? Okay, that makes sense.
Yes.
And
they
she
would
declined.
have. Well, she made a good choice.
Well, McNee himself was not even seen in the movie. Maybe he was too old to be seen in the movie. I don't know what his health was at that point.
I did. I don't know if this is interesting or not, but I looked at the user ratings. There's a way to filter them by country, and it is kind of interesting. United States gives this a 3.7, UK 3.5. Netherlands loves it at 4.3.
Ooh, that's a high ranking there.
Love.
Germany 3.8.
So it's anyway. It's like the Street Fighter of the Netherlands.
Yeah, they weighted it. Like if Netherlands hadn't weighed in and liked it so much, it would have been lower on this list.
Well, yeah. Them Dutch, yeah. Okay.
I love bubbles. I'm an eighth Dutch. I can make Dutch jokes.
I'm like half Dutch. Can I make more? I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't think
go for
anyone anyone's going to stop you making Dutch jokes. I don't think they care.
Damn Dutch.
I've definitely read a lot of stuff about how Dutch people hate Dutch pop stars. It's pretty funny.
Well, I guess we'll wheel this one in. So, Mark, I'll ask you how we can avenge this podcast.
You can avenge this podcast by Stop Cop City. Also, you can go stopping Cop City. I'm sorry, I just wanted to say the thing. You can go to patreon.com/podcastiopodcastius. There's bonus content. You can throw us a few bucks to help with web hosting, things like that. You can see a list of all of our podcasts such as Occult Disney, going over the occult connections and all of the Disney stuff that's popular for the most part. Luke loves Pokemon. Luke goes over every type of Pokemon ever, including some that we haven't even met yet. Your favorite Pokemon is the one you haven't met. Game Show, the game show about games. You can listen to the entirety of Imprisoned in Prison, the Prisoner Prison Cast about the 1960s show The Prisoner, which is better than this movie. You can listen to Time Enough podcast about the Twilight Zone, and Hyrule Field Report going over Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, area by area, thing by thing, story by story, bit. What am I missing?
I think you got it all. It's fun watching your brain like try and work.
Did you mention Time Enough?
Yeah,
I did.
Yes.
I did. Brian, where can we find you?
You can sometimes find me on the Time Enough podcast, which is the only other podcast I'm on.
All right. And sometimes Brian comes into the chats we have that Matt hosts every other Sunday.
Yeah.
Which
over
on the
at
mission log
patreon.com/mission log. Yes.
Yes. Join the mission log Patreon. Our buds. Throw them some bucks too. Hang out on the Discord. It's a fun place. Stays busy.
It's a very fun place.
So who are you going to go out and avenge today?
I'm going to avenge Star Trek Prodigy.
Okay, that's a good choice.
I'll join you. That's a very good cause.
Yeah, sure. Okay. There's not a better answer on that. We'll save Prodigy for today.
All right.
Peace.
We have a Hulk.
See you next week.